going to do a more gentle practice for the hips. And you may want to have a blanket and a block, and if not a block, then maybe just a cushion or a pillow, something you can use just to support yourself in a couple things. We won't use it as a structure. And if not a blanket, it could be like a bath towel or anything else. And it's also possible to do this whole practice with no props. They can just be nice to have. And we'll start from just seated here. So you can sit any way. Cross-legged doesn't work. Feel free to go long legs or kneel or a butterfly legs. But start to find yourself upright in a nice tall posture. Maybe even moving around a little bit to figure out where that tall centered space is. Arriving there, allowing your eyes to close or just put your gaze on the floor. Give yourself a few moments to simply breathe. Notice your inhale coming in through your nose, filling up your lungs, expanding your belly, expanding your chest, and emptying all the way back out. Long, slow breaths coming in. Long, slow breaths going back out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Take a moment to set an intention at this time. It can be any intention, any positive thought, something that you would like to bring into this moment, into your practice. See if you can feel that thought as a word or a short phrase that you can say to yourself as you inhale. Repeat it as you exhale. And if nothing quite comes to you, try not to overthink it. Your intention today might just be to become present, to be here, to be in this time, in the place where you are. Say that intention to yourself. See if you can feel it or imagine it somewhere in your body. Sealing that intention in, we'll take 3 breaths together. You can bring your hands together at your heart. And take a deep breath in. Let a slow breath out. And breathe in. Breathe out. And breathe in. And breathe out. From here, begin to find your way all the way down onto the floor, onto your back. Taking a moment to find yourself there, align your spine, let your shoulders draw down, let your head come into alignment. And then when you're ready, long legs, you can straighten out through your legs. And also straighten out through your arms, reach back behind you. Take a full body stretch, right there on the mat. Relax that stretch, let everything melt into place. And then take another full stretch, long arms, long legs. Engage the body, take an inhale. Relax the body with your exhale. And once more, inhaling to stretch. Exhaling to soften. And then letting your arms come out to your side. We'll bend at the knees and take your feet a little bit wide near the edges of your mat, or about 2 feet apart. We'll go into some windshield wiper legs, where when you inhale, your knees are upright like they are. When you exhale, lower them down to the left. And a big slow breath to bring them back up. Exhale down to the right. So it's pretty slow, letting your hips take some time to ease side to side. Inhaling up, exhaling down. And of course, if you want to add any other movement, you could take your chin side to side as well. Starting to warm up, starting to soften. The next time that your knees travel back over to your left, let them stay over there. Pause there for a moment, just relax into that space. Breathe into the right edge of your body. It's just a little bit more open than the left side, across your waist, up through the hip, across your thigh. See what else can relax in another deep, full breath. All the way through the exhale. And then we'll bring the knees up and over to the other side. As they come down to your right, feeling the left side of your body get a little bit more spacious. We're breathing into that left side, and at the same time relaxing everything. Whatever you can soften, let it go. Again, what else can relax, even in the course of just one breath? Deep breath in, slow breath out. Helping your way back up through to the middle, finding that centered place, pausing there for a moment. We'll begin with your left leg. You can bring your left knee in towards you. Your right leg you can keep bent like it is, or you can flatten it onto the floor, so wherever is comfortable for you today. With your hands around your left knee, start to guide that knee around, big, slow, wide circles, taking up some space. Eventually taking that around in the other direction. Sending that leg straight up towards the ceiling, straightening it out. If you can hold your leg with your hands, go ahead and bring your thigh away from you into your hands. And then bring those circles up into your toes. Guiding your toes around in some nice slow circles. Feeling all the edges of your foot and how it connects to your leg. And taking that around the other direction. And then with your foot flexed, so the sole of the foot faces the ceiling to start, we'll then start to bend at your knee, bringing your heel down towards the floor. And straighten again. Coming all the way back up. A few rounds through, just slowly bending and straightening at the knee, noticing where that might go in your hamstrings, maybe in your quads. And then we'll bend that knee and take a figure 4 on the ground. So have your right leg bent so you can prop your left ankle on the right knee. And with the right foot still on the floor, we're going to take the left hand to the left thigh and just give it a little press. So if your knee tends to come forward towards you, we're just trying to flatten it out away from you. From that position, take a little sway side to side. Just like baby windshield wipers, it doesn't have to be much. And then you can either stay down here in this position. Some days this is enough for the really tight hips. Otherwise, bringing your legs in towards you. So picking up your foot from the floor, you could hug your legs towards you with your hands reaching for your right thigh, or just let your legs float on their own. And still with that left leg, you might try and kind of push it away from you, even though both legs are coming towards you. A little give and take. If you have your legs up near you, you might again take a little side-to-side movement. See where that feeds into your hips. You might lean into a little bit deeper stretch or ease out of that. Keep out of that intensity. And then we're going to take this apart, landing both feet back at the floor, knees bent upright. Before we start the other side, one bridge. So just centering yourself, especially your neck and your head, keeping that in alignment. As we set up for bridge, push down through your feet, lift through the hips, just to open up that front line of the thigh across the front of the hip to the waist. We'll release that back down and begin on the second side. So your right knee comes in towards you. Left leg, again, option to stay bent or to go straight for a little while. Starting in on those knee circles for the right side. Slow and steady. And both directions. Knowing we're circling the knee, but you feel it in the hip. Notice all those sides of your hip where you might feel that sensation. Right leg goes up. Take it up towards the ceiling. You can stretch it out. You can pull it away from you in your hands and move the circles up to your toes. Big rotations for your ankle. Slow and steady. Both directions. And coming into those knee bends, again we'll start with a flexed ankle just for a little more activation in the leg. But you can bend and straighten that leg slowly. No need to rush. Just letting the knee move without any weight bearing down on it. You might take one more bend, one more straighten. We're going to be shifting into our figure 4 on this side, so just make sure that left knee is bent. We'll have the foot flat on the floor. Right ankle comes on top of the left thigh, right up near your knee. And again, keeping the legs on the floor for a moment. We'll guide the right leg away from you, just a light press. So try not to crank on it. Little turn side to side here. Just see where it goes. If your hips are not very tight, this might be very subtle sensations. For the rest of us, you'll feel it. And again, you can keep working with this shape right down here, the left foot on the floor. Otherwise, we bring it in, usually adds a little more intensity or a lot more intensity. You can float your legs, or you can reach around that left leg and bring the legs towards you even further. When your legs come in, just remember that right leg can go out. Sometimes you can use your elbow to kind of nudge it a little bit further away. And again, that little side to side, even a couple inches in either direction, sometimes gives you some more information. Again, we're going to let this out and move it into another bridge, just kind of like this neutralizing bridge. So ground your feet, arms down at your sides. We'll lift the hips. Take a deep breath in at the top. Stay through your exhale. One more full breath in. And we'll release down with the exhale. From there, let's come into another little windshield wiper. Arms can come back out to the sides. You can step your feet a little wider and let the knees travel side to side. Just as a little softening here. Then let's take the knees all the way in, knees to chest. Just bring your arms to your legs, give yourself a little squeeze. Maybe a little more swaying side to side. And then we'll find our way on up and over, working your way up to all fours. So however you want to get there. This is a spot where, of course, you can use that blanket or towel under your knees just to add a little more support. But eventually finding your way up, stacking your limbs, shoulders are over your wrists, hips are over your knees, and beginning a little cat and cow. So cow has the belly down, chin and tailbone lifted. And cat is the rounded back. Lower the head, lower the tail. Cow will take with the inhale. Feel the belly as it lowers underneath you. Exhale when you get through, as you breathe through to your cat. And again, inhaling cow. Exhaling cat. Finding your way to a neutral spine. Let's take the knees a little wider and the big toes towards each other for child's pose. Hips can slide back, lower your head to your hands or right onto the floor. Here, if hips are very tight, you might stay a little more lifted so that your head can still lower down onto the ground. Take another deep breath in your child's pose. Staying for your exhale. And then rise back up. Finding your way back up to hands and knees. Back into a little cat and cow. And then moving to a neutral spine. We're going to take your right foot back behind you. Tuck your toes under against the floor and push back against the ground with the toes and the bottom of your foot, the ball of your foot. See if you can stabilize here so that the right hip stays at about the same height as your left hip. You're not tilting one way or the other, right at center and neutral. Going for a little bit of balance. If you want to add the left arm up, we have opposite limbs coming up into space. You can always add the float of the right leg if you want to lift the foot up. Just be mindful of the back. Try to maintain that stability, even if it means keeping your foot on the floor. Then, with both hands on the floor, see about bringing that right foot up now. And then bringing the knee underneath you, towards your nose. You can round your back like cat as your knee comes underneath. And then send your legs straight back again to lift or just toes on the ground. Again, we'll bring your knee underneath, round it out. And then straighten your legs, straighten your spine, find center. Once again, squeeze it under. And stretch it back. And then you can land your knee. Once again, child's pose, sink it down. Release it to the floor. Take a deep breath down there. Let it go. Rise back up, find it all fours again. This time, left leg will step back behind you. Again, we'll start with the toes against the floor and really push back against them. Stabilize and stretch at the same time. Feel the strength of the back side of your leg, like it's lifting up, even though it's still attached down to the floor. You can go ahead and add the right arm if you like, that full opposite limb balance. Option to lift the left toes, so your heel comes to the height of your hip. Breathe. Right hand will be back at the floor, so we're a little more sturdy. Bringing the left knee underneath. Again, we can round the back leg cat. And then we'll straighten, neutralize the spine. The left leg comes behind you to lift, or again, toes on the ground. Squeeze it under, getting that knee as high up as you can. And then lengthen it out, stretch it back. Once again, squeeze it under. Straighten it back. And then knees to the floor. One more child's pose. Sink it down. Relax to the ground. Another deep breath in and out. Coming back up. We'll find your way on up into a lunge. So let's start with the right leg up in front. And we'll take that leg to the outside edge of your hands. So you've got some room there. And you might take a little wider stance with that leg so you have room. But also you might have a little longer stance. So thinking of having enough space between front and back knee, front foot and back knee. So you can always lengthen out that space and let your hips sink a little further forward. So with your arms to that inside edge of your leg, thinking of this knee staying above your foot. So if it's going really wide at this point, try to nudge it back in or bring your foot a little wider so it's easier to keep the shin vertical. If this is feeling really tight where you're at, you might stay a little higher. You can come up onto your thigh. Otherwise, option to go a little lower. You could bring one elbow to the floor or both. If not a floor, this is where you could use a pillow, a cushion, a blanket, a block, whatever you might have that you want to put your elbows on. We're just lowering into that lunge if it works in your hips. And then with long arms, so if you lower down or you lift it up, try to find your way to those long arms. And now we will go wide with that knee. So your right toes can turn outward. You might even nudge them a little wider still. And your knee also goes wide towards the toes. And so if your knee is still hopping in, you want to peel it out. And then see about even guiding your knee a little bit further towards your toes. And think about your hips sinking a little further forward. Everyone's hips are going to be a little different here, so try not to force it into any particular shape. Just kind of feel out even if you move an inch or two in any direction. Last option is going to be to pick up the inner side of your foot, so your knee is going to go even wider. That that might not work for everyone's knees and hips, so if there's any pain anywhere in your joints, just keep your foot flat on the floor. Otherwise, option to roll it out. Wherever you're at, another deep breath. And then we're going to start to bring it all the way back in. You can nudge your foot back towards you. We'll take the right foot back behind you. Little cat and cow. And we'll go right into the other side. So your left foot will be up at the front. Again, we're taking the arms to the inside edge of your leg. So feel free to already start in a little wider stance so you're not all squished up underneath you. Wider stance as well as longer stance. So remember, you can always adjust where you're at as you come into that position. Again, option to come up. If that's feeling really tight, you might want to just stay a little higher. When you stay higher, often we can get a little more into the front of the back hip. Otherwise, going low. So as you come low onto an elbow or both elbows or something that's holding your elbows, usually we get more into that compression of the front hip. Wherever you are, you still want to be able to breathe comfortably and no sharp pain, nothing prickly, nothing sharp digging into you. Next stage is going to be, again, that little wider stance. So you can nudge your foot even wider and your toes come out at an angle. So you're not going straight to the side, but maybe 45 degrees. Knee is also going out at that angle, so it's following the path of your toes. And thinking of that knee like pushing in the direction of your toes, maybe leaning into it a little bit. And not just leaning towards the toes, but then bringing the hips further forward. Seeing what your hips will allow you to do in this space, again, without any pain. And last little step here would be to go a little bit wider with that knee, opening it out by coming to the outer edge of your foot. The inner edge lifts up. Again, that doesn't always work for everyone's hips, so don't force it. Stay in a place where it's okay in your body, where you can breathe. And then that knee comes back up. We'll bring your foot towards you and then behind you. Once again, little cat, little cow. Before we move on, let's come to seated for a moment. You can kneel, you can be cross-legged, you can sit any way, but let's just get off of the wrists and give them a moment to spin around each other, circling out your hands and your wrists in both directions. From here, we're going to come down all the way onto your belly. So you can lay down on the floor. Just make a little pillow for your head with your hands resting one cheek or the other. We're going to do a little bit of release for the hips. It's a little bit of really effortless work. So a minimal amount of work for this movement. You can bend at the right knee and flex at the ankles so the sole of the foot faces the ceiling. We're going to be lifting and lowering that knee while keeping that same shape in your leg. So it's that 90-degree angle. And we lift and lower the knee. Just maybe it only goes a half an inch, maybe an inch, maybe 2 inches. And as you do that, we want the work to be pretty much around the glutes, maybe a little into the hamstrings, these big muscles that sit behind the hip. When those muscles are doing the work, it'll help protect your back so your back doesn't take over. The main thing that's happening is we're stretching out the front side of your hip. So when your knee lifts, we're lengthening what's on the floor. You can take a few more rounds of that. We're just lifting and lowering. Maybe it's going with your breath, nice and slow. So if one side of your head is resting, you can switch that as well. And then bending at the left knee, flexing at the ankle, and starting again, lifting and lowering, nice and steady. Again, using that muscle set behind the hip. Trying to make this a soft, fluid movement. It will take a little bit of work, but try not to overdo it. Take another round, up and down. We'll release that leg as well. And find your way back up. Once again, child's pose. You can take your child's pose. If you prefer a downward facing dog, feel free to rise off the knees and give the legs a little bit more space to stretch out. We'll be coming back to all fours and doing one more thing from hands and knees. Coming into one more set of stretches for the hips from this position. So we'll take your right leg out to your right. And take a moment just to check in on some alignment things. So your foot, you want to be about in the line of your knee or behind it. So if it's way up in front, back it up. And if it can't come all the way to that line, then just keep it further back. That's fine. Going towards having your toes pointing straight ahead and the foot flat on the floor. That might not work. Maybe your toes have to point out or you're not quite flat. That's okay. Then check in with the rest of your body. You want your hip over your knee. You want both hips more or less the same height. So you're not wonky one way or the other. We're going towards stable. Same with the sides of your body. You don't want to be scourged one way or the other, going towards center. So from here, you might just stay. If it works, this is another spot to lower down. Coming to an elbow, two elbows, or lowering onto a block or a cushion. From that position, seeing if your hips might slide just a little further backwards, maybe an inch or two. Give it another deep breath. All the way through the exhale. We're just going to rise back up. Help yourself back to center and switch into the other side. So your left leg is going to straighten out to the side. Again, looking to be right in line with your other knee. Toes pointing forward and the sole of the foot flat on the floor. Again, once you've got all of that lined up, and if it feels okay, then starting to align the rest of your body. So checking in with your hip, making sure it's not leaning one way or the other. It's right on center. And checking in with the sides of your body. Seeing if you can lengthen them both evenly. And ideally, we want that same evenness even when you lower down. So it's a little easier or harder to feel even when you start to get deeper into the hips, since they're doing different things. But see what works. See if you can still feel lung in the spine. Still get that deep stretch through the inner leg. Anywhere else you might feel that in your hips. The last thing is to slide back. Again, even just a tiny bit. Move your hips backwards. Give it another deep breath. Again, stay for the exhale. And then we'll rise up. Coming all the way back up, hands and knees. Stack your limbs, cats and cows. Once again, we'll be finding our way to sit and giving the wrists a little release so you can help yourself upright and work your hands around themselves. Again, both directions. into a little bit more hip work. Told you we were working on hips today. Let's start with your right knee at the front of your mat, or wherever you are, facing forward. The right knee in front. I'm going to turn around the other way. The right knee in front, the left leg behind. So you've got kind of this zigzag position in your legs. Your left thigh can nudge right up next to your right foot. And then your arms can come over to your right. We're going to start with a twist, kind of this wide open twist. We're opening up that whole left side of your body as it comes up and across. You can take that all the way up through your chin, look to your right. And then starting to unwind a little bit, we're going to fold over the right leg. So you can start to bring yourself down. Same thing, you can come to your elbows, you could come down to your head. If you can't quite reach elbows or head, that's another spot. You can put a blanket, you can use a block or a cushion, whatever you want to use. You can use your hands to hold your head. But we're just kind of leaning over that bend of the right leg. Starting to move into more of a yin practice. So this is the start of it. We're softening into your hips. We're starting to lower down. We're not worried too much about the shape of your body, but more about what you're feeling in your body. And this might be where you want to continue working into that right hip. Otherwise, we'll continue towards a pigeon pose. So you're already started. The next thing would be to take that left leg and start to straighten it behind you. That might be enough. If you can come up and straighten that leg and then fold back over the right leg, that might just do enough into that right hip or the hamstrings, wherever you're tight. Otherwise, shifting towards our full sleeping pigeon pose, you're going to lift up and reposition. So now both of my hips are a little bit elevated. I'm not sitting on the floor anymore on my thigh. I have lifted. When you do that, you might need to readjust your positioning. So if you're very high up, you want to start lengthening out. You might nudge your knee further back behind you. The hips will start to lower. Another thing you may adjust is so that this leg isn't right out underneath you. You can open up the angle of this leg so it's a little bit more coming towards the front of your mat with that foot. This is typically a lot more intense. It's another spot you can use props. So you might take something underneath your elbows. Another thing you could do is put a cushion underneath your right hip. Just alleviates enough of that tension to make this a little more accessible. Wherever you are, wherever you've gone, continue to go. Continue to slip into this space. What else can relax? Where can you breathe? Can you stay present to your body and whatever you're feeling right now? Stay for another breath. Continue into the exhale. And then just easy does it. We'll be finding our way up and out of that pose. And before we do the other side, coming all the way onto your back for starfish pose. So you might need a little time to get there. Try not to rush. Try not to rush your body. But starfish pose is just laying on your back, legs a little wider, arms out like a big X shape in your body. If that feels iffy in your back, you might do this with your knees bent for a little more support. But the idea is we're just releasing out of that pose, and there may still be parts of the pose that take a little more time to relax, to let go. Sometimes you feel that as a pulse or some heat traveling through your body. Let that get back to a sense of equilibrium. Take a few moments to breathe here. Alright, we're going to bring it back up however you want to get there. Take your time. We'll find our way to start on the second side. And again, we did that progression through. So we're going to start with your left leg at the front. We're going to be in that twist first. So it's the zigzag position of your legs. So if you've got that left leg up in front, the right leg comes up to meet it. And then you bring your arms to your left. And you turn in that direction, chin comes all the way up and across to your left. Allow that to start lifting and opening across the right hip as it follows you along into that twist. And then again, we're going to come towards that first fold. So you still have that left knee bent in front. You're going to hover above it and start to lower on top of it. Again, to the floor or to anything else that might hold you. You can hold your head with your hands or put it on a cushion. And start to lean over that front hip, the left knee. Again, we're going into the yin practice. So starting to slow things down, bring your weight low to the ground. Starting to take apart some of the more active things we've done and come into a more passive state. Again, all the options to either stick with this spot or move towards your version of pigeon on this side. So first option is going to be that right leg straightening behind you a bit and just keeping your weight on that right thigh as your left leg straightens. Next option will be going towards more of our regular full pigeon where your hips are now at about the same height. Again, you may need to adjust as you get there. You might need to open up this angle of the front leg, squaring yourself up. And to keep it square, again, you might take a cushion, a blanket, something under the right hip. From there, you can lower down again. That's where we go. Coming into that sleeping variation in yin yoga, often called sleeping swan instead of a pigeon. Whatever you want to call it, we're starting to melt down. In any yin practice, if something is not feeling right, you always back out. You can go back the way you came, or you can go right into starfish and release it. But if it's okay, see if you can stay. See what happens when you let your body absorb into a deep stretch over a couple of minutes. Allowing your mind to stay present with your body and with your breath. start to bring it on up and around. Another starfish pose, but again, take your time, ease your body out, let it do whatever it needs to do to unwind from that position. When you're on your back, again, just lengthening out to your starfish variation. Rebalancing your body. Coming back to equal left and right. And letting your body finish the pose from starfish. Coming from starfish into another bridge. So your feet are near you, your knees point upright, your arms down at your side, and your neck and head in alignment. Just a neutralizing bridge, so again, grounding down and lifting up, letting the hips open towards the ceiling, across the front of the hips. And then releasing back down. When you get to the floor, feet wide, arms wide, we can do our windshield wipers again. That softening movement, side to side. The next time that your knees travel to your left, you can let them stay there. You can take that version of a twist, windshield wiper twist, or any other version. So you could take your right knee over to meet your left. You might nudge your hips one way or another. You can adjust your shoulders, but find a twist where you can settle, where you can breathe. Still within that yin state of mind of letting things go, releasing things out. Take another deep breath here. Let it all the way out. We'll come out the way we came in. So if you left windshield wiper, let your right leg slide back over and then lift your knees up and across. Knees come to the right. You can again stick with windshield wiper or guide the left knee over to meet the right. Again, moving into whatever version of this twist works on this side. Finding a spot to release and let go. Breathing into whatever sort of twist you have. Once again, deep breath in, slow breath out. Beginning to unwind, finding your way back through to center. Readjust at your spine, down through your hips. We'll move into our final relaxation. You can lengthen your legs out long, a little bit wide. Arms can stay down near your sides. Let your shoulders nudge down your back. Lengthen your neck. Find the back of your head. Find the center of it. And let it rest. Check in if there's anything else you need to be comfortable to be able to relax fully. Take that now. We'll continue into our Shavasana, breath by breath. Releasing out of the physical practice. Softening your muscles. Relaxing your joints. Let your bones rest. Releasing out of your mental practice. Letting go of those awarenesses. Letting go of any effort, any expectations. Allow your mind to float. Give yourself time to rest. Continue going deeper into that rest. Imagine each breath dissolves another layer of stress or tension, so that each breath feels a little more relaxed. A little more at ease. Continue to relax, but bring a little awareness back in. First, just noticing your hands, notice your feet. Move through fingers and toes. Expanding that movement into your ankles, into your wrists. And eventually reaching out into a full stretch for your body. You can reach long or wide or tall, but stretch out your arms, stretch out your legs. In your own time, start to gather it in. Help your knees up or all the way in towards your belly. You can give a little sway side to side. Eventually turn over onto one side. Pause there for a moment. Take a breath and let it go. And then start to find your way on up to sit. Sitting any way that feels comfortable, that feels grounded, and that feels tall and centered. Coming back to a point of stillness, or it's just your body breathing. And to feel your body breathing just a little bit more, take one hand onto your chest, the other hand down low on the belly. Feel your breath moving your belly, moving your chest. Notice how it affects your hands. Guide each breath almost as though it has these two parts, where the inhale, it first comes deep into the belly, and the second part rises into the chest. When you breathe out, another two parts softening at the chest, softening the belly inward towards the spine a little ways. Again, the breath filling up from the belly to the chest, emptying from the chest to the belly. Breathe it in. Breathe it all out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. From here, bringing your palms together to touch at the front, in front of your heart. Pausing here, continuing to feel your body breathing, continue to feel any bit of stillness that resides in your body or your thoughts. We'll close here with 3 breaths. Another deep breath in. Let the whole breath out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Namaste.